Hi everyone, I am here today to chat with Hayley from the Divine Arts Tarot. I am so excited about this stunning deck. It's currently on Kickstarter and it is absolutely lovely. Um, yeah, it's beautiful and vibrant and has such a beautiful design. Just hang tight and I will grab Hayley. Um, there we go. Hi, Haley. How are you?
Hi, George. All right. I am good. I am good.
Awesome. So,
Oh,
how's your weekend treating you?
how's the word? Sorry.
How's your weekend been?
It's been chaos, but it's fine as always. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. A bit of the same. World news is a bit overwhelming right now, so I've been trying to strike a balance between keeping myself informed and not descending into a state of complete anxiety and terror. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and as air signs, here we are, just overthinking and going.
It's hard to shut off that part of my brain, as I'm sure you know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like literally because you have the same placements as my other half, and I know what she's like, so
Yeah,
so I know exactly how
I
your brain's
know.
ticking.
What odds, hey? I mean, there's so many different possible combinations. I thought it was so awesome when I figured it out and figured out that we were exactly the same. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever I see that you're posting informative things, I'm like, oh my God, is that looking at Hannah? I'm like, go on.
Yeah, it's a good thing most of the time, but when it comes to bedtime, it can be a bit of a challenge because I just can't shut it off. Do you know what I
Of
mean?
course. Yeah,
Yeah,
consume.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am beyond thrilled to be able to chat with you about your stunning deck. Oh my goodness. As soon as I saw the first few illustrations that you had posted, I was so excited about it. Like the artwork is just stunning and everything that you've put into it is so magical.
Thank you.
Love to find out about your process. Like where did the deck come from? How did you approach it? What were the first couple of cards that you did? That's like 10 billion questions all at once. We'd love to
I've got them
know. Yeah.
all. Give me the info. So, you know what? I think the first one I did was, oh, it might have been The Devil. And
Ooh.
I think it was lockdown time. So I was
Mhm.
there thinking like, oh, I want to do some really cool like tarot designs for tattooing. Like I really
Yeah.
want to, create some really awesome designs. And then I was like, oh, but through creating this card, I've actually discovered so much about it. And it was such a great way for me to learn about tarot because I'm not a seasoned pro. I'm still learning and I struggle to
Yeah.
learn tarot as it is. So I hold my hands up. Like, I am not the kind of person who's like got an absolute gift for it, but I wanted to learn so badly. So I
Yeah.
thought, I'm going to keep going with these designs. And then I had some friendly encouragement. So, with the sense of wanting to create a deck that I can better understand for me and how I perceive
Mhm.
everything, and then also to create some nice designs for people to have as tattoos. And it didn't turn out to be tattoos in the end, it turned into a deck. And I was like, this is
Yeah.
great, I can keep going.
Yeah. I love that that was such an organic process for you. It's so funny when you start creative projects. Sometimes you can have, or I can have a specific idea in mind, and then it turns out being something completely different. And there's so much power in that, like the creative process, it can be often this winding road where you end up so far removed from where you originally started, but there's something so magical about that process and just kind of releasing and giving into it and allowing it to be whatever it is, right?
That's
That's
what's
that's amazing.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has become its own entity. And when I think back to how it was when I started, even just the way the designs came about and everything, it looks like a different deck, it feels different, it reads different, and it's just this eclectic, strange tarot deck. And I'm surprised people are like, oh my God, yes, it's great. And I'm like, it's just a load of pictures that out of my head. And I'm like, yes, I understand this now.
Yeah, but there's such a fluidity to it too. Like each of the suits is so different in terms of the feel and even the color choices that you made, which by the way, I
Yeah,
absolutely love. Like it
thank you.
captures the energy of each of the suits so beautifully. But even though there's a variety of different images, there's a through line to it, and it feels like a complete thing in and of itself. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yes.
amazing to me how you can have a deck that has a variety of different imagery, and yet it's very clear that you had a specific intention. Whether you started with that intention or just kind of evolved as you went, doesn't really matter, right? Because it
No.
created something that's very cohesive and really, really lovely. That's incredible. And I love that it was a process of learning for you. Like, I love that artistic projects so often can come from a place of wanting to learn and wanting to understand something on a deeper level. Like, that is 100% my tarot practice. I started like over 12 years ago reading cards, but it was kind of an off and on thing for me. And
Mm.
the more I learned, the more I was driven by a need to deeply understand the practice. And that's where everything evolved
Yes.
from. And there's so much magic in that because you're creating for others what you're seeking for yourself. And so it's a very
Yeah.
interesting process, right? It's like it's
I hadn't
something that's
thought of
very
that.
near and dear, you know? But yeah, and that comes through so beautifully in what you've created. Like there's such a connection with the practice, and you don't need to be a seasoned expert to connect with tarot. That's what I love about this practice. It's like it's available in so many different forms and in so many different ways. So however and wherever you're at in your life, you can find a representation of tarot that makes sense for you, right? And that's so beautiful.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. My first deck I ever got was, have you come across the Sacred Rose Tarot at all?
I haven't
It's
actually. I
an
need to look
80s
into that.
deck.
Yeah.
I'll send you the link later, but it's an 80s deck and it's the coolest thing ever. And they haven't got eyes, which
Yeah.
I've always drawn with people with no eyes. So when I
Yeah.
received my first deck from a charity shop from my stepmom, she was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I got you this. You're into that weird witchy crap, aren't you?" And threw it at me. And I was like, "Yes." So I looked at it. I was like, "They've got no eyes." She
Yeah.
drew how I draw people, and then I was just sucked in. About 5 years ago, I received that, and it's just been
Yeah.
this intense but almost very, I don't know, there's been a very, I've like looked at it, left it, looked at it, left it, and then it's just turned into this relationship with it I can't let go of. I'm hooked
Yeah.
on it, and I'll always
Yeah.
love that deck for what it is, but I couldn't make sense of it. And
Yeah.
I was like, it's quite esoteric to look at. A lady said to me who I used to work with, she said, "Oh, it's a very esoteric deck. Oh, you should try the Rider-Waite Smith to begin with first." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "That's a very dark deck. It's a very dark deck." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't know the difference, but yeah." And then I was
Yeah.
like, "I don't get it. I love it, but I don't get it." So the
Yeah.
need to create a deck I felt like I could understand or be a part of, I had to go through this process, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I find it so interesting how certain decks, people can look at them and be like, oh, that's so dark. And it's almost like a shying away feeling. But sometimes I find, I don't know if it's that Scorpio moon placement or what, but I feel I'm drawn to that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can really help with shadow work. But then I was talking to someone else about how really whimsical decks, like there's this Sparkly Lenormand by Kim from Fable's Den, and it's a very childlike, beautiful, light deck, and yet it's perfect. Her work, her Way of the Panda, is actually perfect for shadow work as well, because sometimes you want that hard-hitting visual representation, and then
Oh
other
yeah,
times you need something to balance that off a little bit, right? But it's
definitely.
I mean, I look at where things were at when I bought my first deck. It was like the Mystic Fairy Tarot at this random little metaphysical shop in Calgary, Alberta, which is basically Texas North. And it was, kind of harder to find and tucked away. And now tarot is so mainstream. And there's downsides to that with all the scammers on Instagram and everything else. But the upside is there's something for everyone, right? And there's a deck that there's so much available that you can look even on, chapters here in Canada or wherever else to find something that resonates with you, where the images really draw you in. And
Yeah,
I don't know, I feel kind of weird admitting this, but I've never owned a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck.
me
I
either.
love the art and I love working with it, and I have a lot of Rider-Waite-Smith inspired decks, but for whatever reason, like I'm grateful that I have so many books that reference that imagery because I think it's a great system and that's kind of what I've used. And yet those images haven't really pulled me in the same way that other decks have, right? So
Yes, yeah,
it's
I get
nice
you.
to find something that works, and in your case create something. I'm so in awe of that whole process. You did that, and yeah, that's incredible.
It
Oh,
took a
amazing.
long time, thank you, but it took a long time to get to that stage. I was in the process of creating a deck. The minute I got the deck, I was like,
Yeah,
I don't get this. And then I was
yeah,
like, right, I'm going to draw my own and make sense of it. And I was so clued up on Rider-Waite-Smith, like yourself, you see the images everywhere. They'll stick it on a t-shirt, on the carton of milk, you know, literally, you know
yeah,
exactly what it is, on
yeah,
tapestries and everything. But then when you look
yeah,
at your own and you go, oh, I don't know, I'm not feeling this. I can't quite resonate with it. But that deck is good for other things once you know, once you understand.
yeah,
But yeah, the process of it, to understand it, it took a long time. Well, some people didn't take a long time to create, but for me it felt
mhm,
like it took forever to think of
yeah,
certain cards, like the Hierophant, or you know, the Emperor, certain ones
yeah,
that I didn't quite resonate, maybe the more masculine ones or traditional ones, sort of thing, because
yeah,
of who I am and everything, and
yeah,
how I fit into the world. So it
yeah,
was also important to create a deck that I felt like I fit in, especially the
yeah,
lovers, you know, and all that
yes,
side of things. So
yeah,
for me, it was okay, I need a deck that not only I can feel like I belong to, but if I remove whether it's male or female or what, then plenty of people can, you know what I mean? Hi, Levi. So yeah, plenty of people can.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that that component of accessibility is really important. Like I know I have really struggled with the Emperor card and the Hierophant card because of my own experiences growing up in a very conservative, patriarchal kind of framework, at least where my dad was concerned. And I really shied away from those cards for a really long time. And over the course of 2020 and 2021, I did a deep dive into both of them and tried to kind of find something that I could recognize within those archetypes that made sense for me,
Yeah,
that wasn't like top down hierarchical kind of patronizing, because that's how it felt to me originally, right?
initial
Like the fifth spirit, yeah, exactly, the Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. They're such a talented creator, and their framework and way of looking at the cards made a lot of sense to me because it kind of removed it from that more
mm,
traditional framework. And I think when you can take away some of those gender binaries too, it's really great because it just opens it up to more accessibility for more people, right? Because it's a spectrum and everyone fits in
yes.
different places along it. So it's really nice that there are decks that are coming out that, I mean, everyone deserves to see themselves represented in a tarot deck, right? And so I
Yeah,
love that there are
absolutely.
more coming out that have that level of connection, right? It's really beautiful.
Definitely. And that's why it's important for me to kind of match my life in the deck, because it was predominantly made for me, I suppose, and like that was my main focus, was to make it for me. But then so many people enjoyed it at the same time. I was like, oh, maybe I should put this out. I never intended to make it
Yeah,
into a Kickstarter. I didn't even know what Kickstarter was.
yeah,
And like I made the page and got sucked in, and
yeah,
then I suddenly know this deck and this deck. 12 months
yeah,
ago I was like, I don't know what a light seer is, I don't know what this and this, I don't know. You know, it's Rider-Waite-Smith, right? And then my deck, that's all there is. And then like fairy ones or
yeah,
angel ones and oracle cards, so I didn't understand or know. So then when I did see other decks, I was like, ah,
mhm,
right, okay, maybe there is something I can offer here.
yeah,
And like my experience of my life, I have a mixed race family. My history is all over the place, being gay
mhm,
myself and stuff. So I
yeah,
just wanted to really mix it up and, like you say, make it more accessible for the people, and to
yeah,
make it so colorful and vibrant, and
mhm,
literally put it on a spectrum and on the color spectrum, and just make it into
yeah.
this ball of whatever it is, because I don't know how to describe it still. It's just my brain on 78 cards.
It's amazing though because there's so much vibrancy to the colors, and I love, like I'd mentioned earlier, how you color coded each of the suits, and it
Mm.
helps to pull you into the meaning and the energy of the swords as air, and you know, and I love also, I was looking through the Kickstarter earlier, just to highlight some aspects of the deck, and I love that you've renamed each of the suits as well, where the wands are staffs and the pentacles are wreaths and the swords are daggers and the cups are chalices. So what was that process like for you, and why did you make that decision? I love it. And I was just curious to ask you what was involved in that process.
I just wanted to, I suppose, because it didn't feel like a standard deck, I wanted to just
Mhm.
really amplify that and make it right. Well, if it's going to be how I feel, then I'm
Yeah,
going to make it more about how I perceive each suit, sort of thing.
yeah,
And the daggers for me, instead of swords, I find swords to be quite elegant and very regal like, and you know, oh, I go, you know, like sword fighting and yah yah, but like but
yeah,
daggers to me is more jarring. It's more like that, because being an air sign, you know how that feels when you suddenly you're in it and then that's it. It's more jarring, it's more sudden, it's
yeah,
punchy. And that emotion for me, and the energy that comes from the sword suit is more sudden and more jarring. So the daggers represented that more to
Yeah.
me, you know what I mean? It's shorter,
Yeah.
more just very sudden, and that's how that felt. Chalices just sounded more cooler, I suppose. Like, oh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
chalices.
It's very elegant, elevated.
The wreaths came about. I designed the ace, and it was just going
Mhm.
to be pentacles or coins or something. I was like, oh, you know what? This looks really cool, and it is just a wreath.
Mhm.
I'm going to call them the wreaths, and then
Yeah.
the design process around that was birthed from both myself and Levi from Masculine Intuition as well. And
Yeah.
he said, why don't you do different animals for each of these wreaths rather than trying to, fit them into one area, and just collaborating, and it all just kind of
Awesome.
evolved over time.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
amazing. And it's so nice when you can reach out to somebody like that who's on the same wavelength and gets what your concept is and your approach is, and you can bounce ideas back and forth. I mean, that's such a beautiful process because I feel like you each individually have so much to offer, but when you come together like that, even just you're the one that's doing the creative process, but having someone to process that with and talk about it and, bounce ideas off, there's so much power in that. That's amazing. Oh, I love it.
definitely. It
It's
made me
very, very,
feel more Three of Pentacles. Like I really
yeah,
got a feeling for the Three of Pentacles from doing
yeah,
my Three of Wreaths. And I was like, oh, this is what community feels like. And in this community and in the creative community, it feels a lot
mhm,
different to the tarot, no, to the tattoo community that I'm in as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Everyone's very reserved or out for themselves kind of thing. And there isn't, I've not experienced proper community and
mhm,
not sharing my ideas or feeling fully in that. But in the
mhm,
tarot community I felt that, and it definitely
mhm,
opened up my understanding of how I really feel and where I actually fit in, and where my people are and stuff. So having that collaboration and that conversation with various creators and other people in the community, like commenting on your posts or your videos, and then vice versa,
mhm,
it definitely just gives you there's just so much more zest and juice to
mhm.
life than I thought. And just in 12 months that's just come about, and so is the deck. It's been a hell of a
Mhm.
roller coaster already.
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine. Well, it's intense because I'm sure it felt like forever for you, but a year is also not a huge time frame to put together 78 cards, right? So it's amazing how fluid time feels when you're doing a creative process or an endeavor, right? Because it's like it's stagnant and it feels like forever, and yet it speeds by. Like it's really funny. It kind of feels like the past
Mm-hmm.
2 years where it's like I can't believe it's already 2022 and yet it's felt like forever, like
Yes.
I feel like when you get into that zone, it's like a really interesting way of engaging with the concept of time and creation. But I totally agree with you. Like I was bullied all through school and I hated creative projects, and I just like the whole idea of collaboration or group work like would literally set me out in hives. Like I just had such
Mm.
poor experiences with it. I was involved in health and wellness for a little bit, and that just like I completely got out of that in November of 2019, actually when I set up this account. And through the process of engaging with other people in this community, it's completely restored my faith in the power of collaboration and in
Gosh,
community.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every area has its strengths and weaknesses, and tarot and astrology are not immune from that.
No,
But the
no.
sense of community that I found here and collaboration and just sharing of information and ideas has been really incredible. It's restored my faith in a lot of ways
Gosh, yeah.
because yeah, I came to it from such a negative viewpoint, and it's kind of really transformed for me. So I'm so thrilled to hear that you had a similar experience. It's
Definitely, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
made I was I made my first few posts in
yeah,
March last year, just throwing out my, like, hey, look what this
yeah,
is. And then suddenly out of nowhere, just a flood of people, like Martin from well, he's not Tara in the City anymore, he's Martin in the City, but he pulled
yeah,
through. And then I had Danny from Danny with of Ascension Tarot, like
yeah,
literally
yeah,
soup. And then it's just, I was like, oh, there's people everywhere, this is great. And then
yeah.
then you come up in the city, and then there's JC from, I just, so many people just swoop, swoop, swoop out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm in this, almost feels like a hurricane of amazing people, and the energy is just insane. And I've never felt that. 12 months has been so quick, but so, I can't believe it's been 12 months thinking about it now. It's that is mad time. I don't know what time. Yeah,
Oh, I know.
it's
It's
been
so
such a
surreal right
whirlwind.
now. Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, it's I feel like I've found my place in a way that I hadn't experienced before within this community, which has been really beautiful. Like I've always kind of felt like that person who's on the outside looking in, and I realized I remember having this conversation in the kitchen with my husband a few years ago, and I was
Yeah.
trying to find my place within the health and wellness community, and I look back now and I realize that it was square peg, round hole so much, and in so many
Mm.
different areas of my life. And then he kind of turned to me and he said, I'm not sure that it's you. I think you just haven't found your environment yet, like your people yet, you know? And he
Oh,
was so right, right? Because it's like, yeah, I mean, nothing is without its flaws and without its whatever, but the sense of community is so different, right? And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a completely different feel. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, and I love what you said about oh God, that thought just completely blew out of my brain. It'll come back.
I like it too. Yeah, it's great.
I was just thinking about your oh yeah, there it is. Came back. That whole idea about, you know, when you started the project, you didn't have a specific goal in mind and you just kind of let things be what they were and evolve. And I feel like, I mean, we touched on this a bit earlier, but there's so much power in that whole process of just kind of letting that flow happen and letting that, you know, if you had set an intention at the very beginning, this is what it's going to be, then you wouldn't have allowed yourself that kind of organic process of
No,
seeing
I
where
would
it's
have
going
been
to take you.
disappointed.
Right? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I got my first tattoo last August, and
Yes,
it came out of, it was my big three, and it just came out of a sketch that I did. And had
that's
I set the
awesome.
intention that I'm going to draw my first tattoo and it's going to be great, it never would have happened. You know,
No,
like I think we were
no.
literally watching a movie and I was just like, sketch, sketch, sketch. And I'm like, oh, actually, I kind of like that. I think that might be the first one, right? But because I have a whole list now. But
Yes, I wish I could tattoo you,
yeah,
Jules.
there's something about that process that is really powerful, right? And really, really great. So I just wanted to touch on that. I mean, it's kind of related to what we were saying before, but yeah. So, and I love that you've shifted the swords into daggers. That makes so much sense to me. And I love that sharp kind of pointed energy because I don't know about you, I've always gravitated more towards cups because that feels like a more nurturing kind of safe space. And because I'm in my head so much of the time, it's almost like it's too close for comfort. And I mean,
I feel you.
swords or daggers can traditionally be more challenging cards, but I think especially
Mm.
if you exist in that space in your head, it can be really hard to engage with that, right? So it's like I
Oh
know a lot
yeah.
of people gravitate towards pentacles as a balancing point. For me, it was cups, and it's so interesting how we kind of look for the opposite to try and kind of even things out, right? Like
Yeah,
it's yeah,
definitely,
yeah,
definitely. I always pull swords, stroke, daggers, depending on
yeah,
what deck I'm using. I'm like,
yeah.
oh yes, fabulous. I love pulling this card. This is great. Ah! Ah!
Yay, that nine of swords is following me yet again.
Oh look, four. I need to rest. Oh God. Um,
If only I
me?
could stop right
No.
now. Oh my gosh,
Honestly, and
absolutely.
then if I pull, like, say, ones or stuffs, I'm always like,
Yeah,
oh, I don't understand what this means either. So I had to use the lions because I needed like a
yeah.
process of like a lion growing up and then the battles and the
Hmm.
challenges that you face through that suit. And I was like, okay, this makes sense now. But I'd look at it like six of ones. I just feel like I don't get it. Or the ace, and I'm like, it looks phallic. I don't understand it. Just a
Yeah,
big, yeah. No, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, it's just how you, I don't know, I never really pull them. I lack
hmm,
heavily any fire energy in my
yeah,
birth chart. I have
yeah.
one. I have Leo
Hmm.
somewhere. I think it might be in my Jupiter, maybe, or something like that. I don't know, but I lack fire.
Yeah.
I very much am a very emotional person, so I'm always drawn to cups like yourself or stroke
Hmm.
chalices because it just feels more safe. I feel safe. If
Hmm.
I pull the six, I'm like, yes, time to play some video game. Boom. You know,
Yeah,
time to rekindle
absolutely.
and, be a little bit more childlike, I suppose. Or just, it's just comforting. Even if I get
Hmm.
five or, the fives of anything, I'm always like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shit's hit the fan, time to.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I don't have a ton of fire energy in my chart either. I have Jupiter and Leo in my 11th house, but I don't have like I'm Libra rising, so my descendant is in Aries in my 7th house of relationships. But there's no planets there. And then Sagittarius too. I think I do have something in Sagittarius, but um, it's not a lot of fire energy. So it's
No.
interesting because when I pull one, sometimes it throws me off a little bit. I love the ideas and the inspiration, but I've also been kind of experiencing a lot of lows in the last couple of months. So I
Oh,
almost feel
yeah.
like when I pull a wands card, it's like, are you mocking me? Like, I know I'm not moving forward as much as I should right now, but it's like, it's coming, it's fine.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
And there's nothing like tarot to call you out. Like, it's so funny. Like, I was just saying this to someone, like, I think part of the power of the practice for me is that it gives me something tangible to look at and interact with. So
God,
so
yeah.
often there's things that I'm avoiding or I don't really want to touch, or maybe I've buried a bit too deep, and then I'll pull out cards and it'll like bring it right in my face. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess I get to deal with this now. Thanks so much.
Yes. Or you pull a clarification and it gives you the same message and you're like, oh, excellent. We are double
I
clarifying this
know.
BS.
I know. It's like, how do I move forward? 8 of Wands, move forward. Really?
That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Thanks for all that clarity. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I love, we weren't really talking about court cards, but I was just thinking about that when you were talking about evolution and process and starting with the aces and moving along the journey and starting with growth. That made me think of your court cards. And I love that you've structured all of those. That was a very awkward segue, but that you've structured them around family, right? And
Yes,
as I
yeah.
understand, you have child, youth, matriarch, and patriarch, which is
Mm.
such an amazing way of looking at the court cards, because that's an area of tarot that I know a lot of people struggle with. Like, there's the kind of traditional representation of, oh, it's going to be a tall woman with this shade of hair and whatever. Like, if you go really traditional, and that's never resonated with me.
Nope.
I see the court cards as aspects of your own personality. So, I can find myself as much in the Page of Pentacles, which has been stalking me for the past 2 years, one step in
Excellent.
front of the other, as the Queen of Cups. But there's something in all of those archetypes that you can connect with. And I think channeling it through the structure of family and evolution and growth through that process is so beautiful. So how did that come about for you?
I struggle with chords
Mm-hmm.
more than anything.
Yeah.
More than the Hierophant, which, like, just
Yeah.
I couldn't grasp what these are. They're all the same. They all
Mm-hmm.
look similar, but I don't get a feeling for it. And then the only way I could is through a process of elimination. I went through all my family, and then some of the people in there aren't family, like my actual family or friends, like, because they
Yeah.
are based on, like, I've got my nephews in there, and I was like, right, you're a Pisces, you're a Libra,
Yeah.
you're a Capricorn, so you're going to be the wreath, you're going to be the chalice. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, what
Yeah.
qualities do my family have? And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, if I need to think of a court card, I'll just think of my cousin Rebecca, or I'll think of my sister Carrie, or my sister Beth, or I'll think of my brother, like, and I'll just be like, right, that's it. I know the energy that they've got. I know, and they all follow on with their corresponding signs. So apart from a couple here and there, but it's just the energy that they have. So it
Yeah.
just, again, it's a learning process for me. But with the book that comes with the deck, it obviously won't
Mm-hmm.
talk about them. It'll just talk about the
Yeah.
energy that, from how I feel about it. But I struggled so
Yeah.
much, and they all just look the same, except for one's on a beach and one's somewhere sitting down on a throne. I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I
So
love how you personalize that for yourself, because that comes through in the cards themselves, like it's very intimate and personal to you, and that you have a personal reference point for each of those archetypes. But the person reading the cards in the deck doesn't need to know the person individually to be able to
no,
get the essence of that archetype that's coming through, right? And there's so much power in personalizing it like that. Do you know what I mean? And creating that intimate relationship with that archetype, because as you're learning and developing your understanding, you're transmitting that into the artwork that you're creating, and then that helps someone else who's referencing the card also gain a deeper understanding of what that means for them, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Levi. I think on one of his deck reviews of it, he said that I love the daggers. They all look like psychos, and I was like, yep. And
But there's some
I
continuity on that.
I made myself into the patriarch. I think I think all I did was I shoved a beard on myself, because I was like, no, I want to be an absolute king in this. I'm going to be the patriarch of this deck. I'm going to throw a beard on myself. So I am actually the male version of myself on that one, just because
Oh,
I
that's
think I'm literally like, I feel like I am in many ways. I'm in the deck a few times,
mm-hmm.
but I feel like that's the different energies that I am, like,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. So yeah, I think even though you don't know the people as like a reader, like not me, it doesn't matter
Mhm.
because the energy is still in there. That person still has all of that
Yeah.
energy radiating from them, regardless whether you know them or not. And I think that's how I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can let this happen. And I needed people, and I didn't I didn't know where I could get like a load of random people from. Like, hey, do you mind if I borrow your face a moment? I'm making a deck. I don't know you. It felt
Yeah.
more authentic to have the authentic energy and
Yeah.
just, you know, and then have people of all shapes and sizes and color and background and everything. And I was like,
Mhm.
brilliant. I have got the most eclectic looking courts you can
Yeah.
imagine, and they're all actually the ages that they should be, to
Oh,
me anyway.
incredible.
So
Yeah. There's so much
it's,
synchronicity in that too. Like it's amazing how you can be working on something and then all of a sudden something else that you need that would really support that aspect of your project happens to be accessible to you. And it's so amazing that you, because it's not just a model where you're using physical representation, like you know this person intimately and you have a relationship with them. So there's a deeper understanding of the energetics that are underlying the meaning of the card too, which is really incredible. That's
mm,
really, really cool.
thank
So,
you.
speaking of Levi and Martin, they both have videos, video reviews or flip throughs of the deck as well, right? Is it
That's
on
right. Yeah.
YouTube? So
Yes.
yeah, so if someone's interested in taking a closer look, I mean, you've included so many amazing photos on the Kickstarter anyway, but sometimes it's fun to see it in real life, well, in motion, so to speak.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, actually
so
moving.
yeah, they
Yeah,
both
if
have
you
video.
wanted an unbiased kind of opinion, I suppose, well, a little bit biased maybe, you know, as friends are, but if you wanted an opinion of it from people who are seasoned readers,
Yeah,
then yeah, Levi has it on his YouTube, and the link's in my Kickstarter, and then Martin's done one too, and then at the very top of my Kickstarter is a silent, well, music over it, flip through. So if you don't
yeah,
want anyone talking to you, then you've
yeah,
got also my silent, well, ish version. You can just switch your phone off,
yeah.
and just like I'm just slowly placing them down at the very top as well, so people can have a good feel for it. Some people
Yeah.
want speech, some people don't, and that's
Mhm.
cool. So I made it accessible both ways.
Oh, I love that so much. I do a lot of flip throughs, and I find oftentimes I like to hear someone's feedback on a deck, but sometimes I just want to see the visual and just kind of absorb
Yeah.
that myself. So I've done a little written blurb review, but then I just do it with like a music background. So I love that
Yes,
you've included that because it's really nice sometimes just to kind of soak in the visual, right? And
definitely.
get that perspective. Yeah, that's amazing though. It's really great to have those insights even before the deck is launched to have that kind of feedback and perspective on it. It's really, really helpful. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and am I right in thinking, so tell me more about the guidebook. It says in the Kickstarter that it's going to be full color.
Yeah, it needs to be full
That's
color because I
exciting.
think it's important for it to
Yeah,
really punch
yeah.
through. And I don't know. I've always wanted to. I don't have any guidebook, I don't think, with any deck that's in full color. It's just
Mhm,
wording and stuff.
mhm.
So I really wanted to show people, just like it's just so colorful. I just want to make sure that people can see them and then like refer back to them. I know sometimes black and white can be a bit of an issue for people, and you
Mhm,
know, because it's black and white drawings as well.
mhm.
I felt maybe I need to add color so you can have a quick flip through reference. So if you're someone like me, you will look for the color.
Yeah, yeah,
Just being an artist, I'm, you know, I'll look for, oh, I need the Empress, and I'll predominantly look for, oh, the green card. That's the one I need.
yeah,
You'll see green straight away. It makes it easier and more accessible,
yeah.
I suppose, for all sorts. You know, I just wanted to make sure that it had, um, it just wanted the book to feel as vibrant as the deck itself too, and you can flip through and see all the colors because I love flipping through my deck and
Yeah,
just go, whoa, colors, nice, and a book as well, just go, whoa, nice.
yeah, that's incredible. I have the indie version of the Muse Tarot by Chris
Mm,
Ann,
yeah.
and with the indie version there was a book that was printed and it's full color and has all of her poetry and everything in it too. But it's so rare to find books that are full color like that, especially coming with the deck itself in the smaller format. Is the so that was my question actually. The guidebook, does it fit inside the box or is it going to be
That's right,
separate?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like the little booklet, but I'm gonna
yeah,
try and make it so the card is like maybe at the top or maybe the page next to it. I'm not too sure. There's a
yeah,
lot of pages, so I'm like, oh, I
yeah,
better
yeah,
fit.
for sure.
So I will
Yeah,
try my best. It's mainly
yeah,
for the majors and the courts. The
yeah.
minors, I'm going to be doing them shrunk down onto a page themselves, and then do have a brief discussion of why or description, I should say, of why I chose the
Hmm.
elephants or why I
Like,
chose to do wreaths and da da da.
yeah.
And then it'll be just like more like prompt words, I suppose. I
Mhm.
wanted the majors and the court cards to have the biggest write up because they're the
Yeah.
ones that I feel like are needed the most because they are
Mhm.
so different. Like I know my minors are very pippish, and a lot of people can just pick it up and go, "Oh, that's the seven of whatever," and then go, "Cool." But
Mhm.
if you look at my cosmic teacher one or awakening, it's not the tower, it's awakening. So I'm like, I owe people an explanation so that they can connect better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with color, with imagery, with the writing, it just feels like it needs to be done properly without, skirting around and going, make what you will of it. No, it needs an explanation because my brain needs an explanation. No one's going to be able to pick it up
Yeah.
and go, I think I understand. I want
Yeah.
people to use it, not go, oh, it's pretty, and then put it on a shelf. I want them to be able to
Mhm.
use it and access it. So that's
Oh,
the
I love
reason
that.
for it being full color and very accessible to use.
Yeah, well, now I'm even more excited about it. Like that's incredible. I'm a huge fan of guidebooks because I really like getting a deck creator's insight. Like the visual is one thing, but I
Mm.
love I love the written word anyway, but I just love hearing someone's insights on the card. It's like the representation is fabulous. And I mean, tarot functions as art appreciation for me in a really big way. And I love that there's so many different approaches to it and everything else. But if I can read what your thoughts were going into the card, that makes me so excited. And I get so much insight and understanding. And every time, it feels like every time I pick up a new guidebook, I gain new insight and understanding on that particular card, or it's looking at it
Mm.
from a perspective that I hadn't considered before. Like the Six of Cups often has to do with nostalgia, and I don't connect with that interpretation so much as I do with the concept of reconnecting with my inner child. So I can't
Yes.
remember where I kind of figured out that insight, but it was probably in one of the guidebooks that I read, and that was really helpful in allowing me to create a more intimate and personal relationship with that card. So I
Yeah.
love that you're doing that because I feel like it's yet another entry point to connect with your deck in a really personal way that allows you to feel that real connection, for lack of a better word. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
about connection for me. I
yeah.
was speaking to JC from the Mindful Awakening the other day, and she said she was describing to me how she feels about the deck. She says, even though I haven't got it and I can't have it,
Hmm.
I don't have it in my hand. She said, your deck feels like a journey. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Like it's like a journey.
Yeah.
She said, and it just feels like she can connect to it and she understands like my thinking through it, and it's like being taken on a journey with me through my version of tarot. And she said it's,
Yeah.
to me I'm like, that's mad because I don't feel it that way. I feel like I'm just going, I did a nice design, do you like it? Yes, brilliant, I'll do a Kickstarter. She's like, no, it's a journey, I love being on
No,
it, it's great.
I,
um
I second that completely. I mean, traditionally with tarot, there's a fool's journey through the major arcana, but if you look at the minor arcana and the course, there's just as much of a journey through all of that as well. And you've built that beautifully with the progression of your cards and your attention to focus and detail. And even I keep coming back to the colors, but how you've color coded each of the suits, like it really captures that so beautifully, and everything is so vibrant. Like it pulls me in every time I see a new card. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is amazing, because there's so much vibrancy, and I love your use of color in terms of how you've incorporated all of that. It tells a story. Do you know what I mean? Like in a visual
that's right,
sense.
yeah.
It's really beautiful. Oh, that's incredible.
I was trying to do it word for word what she said, but it's gone out my head. I wish I'd written it down exactly what she said. I'm like, oh no, my memory's awful, which is why I struggled with the tarot. This is why
Yeah,
it's funny because I'm not very good with words, which is why the book has been difficult for me.
yeah,
I don't feel like I write nicely, or maybe, I mean, I suffer with dyslexia anyway. So for me, it's always been about pictures, and that's how I learn. And
yeah,
so the book, when you get it, I'm going to have to get it proofread. I'm sure my English is going to be off on it. But other than that, like for someone that's not good with words, I think it's a
yeah,
very raw way of giving the full expression of the deck. For someone that's not good with talking or writing, only with pictures, it's a very, like, I'm just very bare. Like I am completely naked at this stage with it. And I'm like, please don't stone me to death, but this is the best time. I'm trying my best.
oh, that's amazing. And that level of vulnerability is
That's it,
really,
vulnerability. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like that is so powerful because I think when I first started my tarot account, for example, I was like, oh, am I oversharing? Like, is this too much? Is this like am I going off the deep end? But then I was like, I've read insights from other people that have really hit home for me and have been really helpful. And so I kind of made this commitment to myself that I was going to be open and honest and vulnerable. And it's been really helpful for me, and maybe
Gotcha.
perhaps for you through that process too. But there's something so powerful in allowing yourself to be seen. I mean, as a visual artist, you are allowing yourself to literally be seen in what you're representing on paper.
Mm.
But then to accompany that with your thoughts and your feelings and everything else, I mean, I'm the inverse. I've been a writer my whole life, but I took an art class in grade 11 and I got a C on this painting. And I picked the worst. We had to pick a magazine picture, and I picked the worst possible one because it was a sailboat on the ocean. So I had to deal with the
Yes.
waves, and I had to deal with the stormy sky, and it was just like me, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And I've carried that as a badge of dishonor with me my whole life. Like I'm turning 43 in June, and I still have that. So even like this was so powerful because it was something that I drew, and like my logo is something that I created, and it's like rehabilitating my relationship with the concept of what is good art and what is skill. And like
Yeah.
I find like I talk about my art very much in that negative sense. And so it's like, if you're not feeling as secure with that aspect of your creation, to be open and vulnerable with that and to still put it out there, that's so beautiful.
Mm.
That's so incredible. And it also invites other people to do the same, right? And it's
Yeah.
it's it's a beautiful process, and I'm so excited to read it. I can't wait. That's
Oh
awesome.
no, you're gonna read it, but
Like not pressure though, but like it doesn't matter. This is going to sound weird. It doesn't matter what you wrote because it's coming from your heart. And so it has
yes.
meaning and significance. You know what I mean? Like the technical aspects of it aren't as important as the fact that you're being open and vulnerable in your interpretations and your ideas and your feelings, right? Like that's the part that is so amazing, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And
Yeah.
I think you owe it to yourself to do the painting again, to do that picture again, maybe at some point in your life. Another one that you redo it again, just do it again and be like, no, I'm not letting this bother me anymore. I'm 43 now and I'm just going to do
Well, my
it.
daughter is 14. Oh God, I can't believe she's 14. And she's a budding artist, and she's really into visual design, and she's starting an art class tomorrow, but she's been working on all kinds of just kind of self-taught through different videos and different things, and the stuff she comes out with is just incredible. And I'm
It's
so
beautiful.
in awe of that process, but it's inspired me to start dabbling, right? Like not to try
Oh,
and
yeah.
recreate what she's doing, but just to kind of engage with that process again, right? Because there's so much power in that. It's really beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Um, but
incredible.
art is just so good as a
Yeah,
healing tool anyway. Even if you're,
yeah,
even I know people say, oh, I'm not good at it, I'm not good at it. But like, I'm sure with you, writing is a great healing tool as well. And you say, anyone can do it, it's fine. I'll tell people, oh, just draw a picture, it's fine. But everyone's got their own version of like using things to
yeah,
heal with. And art
yeah.
has been that healing tool for me. I know you say about oversharing and things like that, but I mean, God, you've probably seen my posts. I'm like, and it reminds me of this time when I was like this, and I just go on and on and on. But it's good
It's
because then people
beautiful.
resonate, you build friendships,
Yeah,
connections, and then
yeah,
like-mindedness, and it's just one big ball of like healing and talking and crying on
mhm,
one another and laughing with each other. And even
yeah,
though we might not be the best at what we're doing or the best
yeah,
artist, the best writer, through tarot we've all been able to collide together and go,
mhm,
F it, whatever. I don't give a damn. We are all
yeah,
just here, just being very human and just being
yeah,
raw and honest
yeah,
and vulnerable. And that's I think that's what my deck is. If I could name it
mhm,
any word, it's vulnerable.
yeah,
It's vulnerability, I think.
yeah. And it feels very honest to me, like the way that you've depicted the cards. Like I feel like I can connect with it. Do you know what I mean? Because you've put so
That's
much of
good.
your own experience into it, and I mean, and it's also just visually stunning. Like uh,
Thank
your
you.
art skills are incredible. Like I'm so in awe of that as someone who excels at stick figures. It's just I'm
Yes.
constantly in awe of what everyone in our community is able to come up with, and just the breadth and depth of variety as well. Like it's very inspiring.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That's nice. It's inspiring. I'm hoping that it will inspire some people too. Because if me, like a woman of no words, that can do a tarot book, I'm sure other people can do things too, and that's really really nice. Like someone who doesn't learn easily, my reading and comprehension's awful. So if I can do that and put it out there and still make friends and have people want what I'm doing, then there is literally a hope, like there is a light somewhere that you can just go towards. You just got to find your right people, I suppose, and have
Yeah.
people in the right mindset put you, lift you. And that's how this all feels, and how everyone
Yeah.
is working in this way, minus the scammers, but like we're all
Yeah.
lifting each other. And that's what makes
Yeah.
this easier for me, is having
Yeah.
this support,
Absolutely.
because I didn't have, before this deck, I had zero self-belief and incredibly low self-esteem. Doing a live scares me to death, and I'm
Yeah.
like anxious for about 3 hours beforehand, going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But you got to do it, and you know that you're being held and you're being supported and nurtured and loved throughout the whole thing anyway. And that's how creating a deck to me feels, like you're being
Yeah.
nurtured and held and supported me, like it's okay, you can delay this, you can wait for this, you don't have to do it like
Yeah.
that, you do it how you want to, and we'll love it because it comes from you. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
100%. No, that's incredible. And I'm so grateful for this community, and that we have so much of the support, and that people are banding together, and that there's that sense of, as you said, lifting everyone up, right? I mean, I feel like for the most part, anyone that I've encountered, it's people are here to support one another and to encourage one another and to create this space where creation is possible, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
having someone tell you that you can do something and supporting you through that process is everything, right? It
Yeah,
allows you
yeah.
to engage with that level of honesty and vulnerability and allow whatever it's going to be to emerge, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like not this check by the boxes kind of school system way of approaching how you're supposed to do something, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of freedom to that, which is amazing.
Think that's it. That is an important thing, I think, with all of it, is just having freedom and
Hmm.
being authentic as well.
Hmm.
And that's how I feel, like, as well as being the vulnerability of the deck, it's being authentic as well, because I've had to literally come out of, almost feels like another closet doing
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, it
absolutely.
does feel like it, doesn't it? Because it's woo woo, it's a bit different, it's a bit, oh my god. And like when my
Yeah,
family started to find out that I was that way, it was like I
yeah,
was petrified. I was like, oh no, people
yeah.
are going to think I'm bloody weird, and I'm already weird anyway,
Mhm.
but I don't want to add to that. But no, actually, people have taken an interest, my friends taken interest, and it's like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. And it's just what I put on myself. I put all these
Yeah,
doubts into my own head, and I'm actually not. I'm just holding myself back. So I had to do
yeah,
this Kickstarter. Be like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I could easily pull the plug and be like, no, no, I'm not doing it. This, I'm scared. I'm anxious. I'm always bloody anxious. So just go in.
I relate to that 110 billion
Mm,
percent. And it's fully funded, and it happens so quickly, and that's so exciting and amazing. And it's just a testament to the support within the community for the work that you're doing. Like that's
yeah.
incredible. And sometimes there are Kickstarters that don't fully fund right away, but when it does like
Mm-hmm.
that, it's such a show of support and bolstering of, especially when you're going into something feeling so much anxiety and worry and everything else, which I can 100% relate to. It must feel good to see that visual representation of that support coming through, right?
Definitely. I think I pressed launch, and within like 2 or 3 hours, I had like friends, and especially my mum was like, "Oh look, you're this so much funded now. Oh look, you're this." And people at my other half, and then my sister was constantly like, "Oh look, you're this much funded now. That's amazing." Just
Yeah.
all day, my inbox was like boom, 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 from all different
Oh,
WhatsApp, Messenger, all sorts, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like," but initially I was like, this is too much, I need to hide, I can't cope,
yeah,
it's too overwhelming. I've never had this much overwhelming support in one go.
yeah,
I didn't know how to function with that. Like yourself, being
yeah.
bullied, you really do go with those self-beliefs that you're not worthy and you're not good enough.
Hmm.
And you, when something good happens, you question it, and you're like, why do they care? Why?
Yeah,
Maybe they're just doing it out of pity. And then you start to question
yeah,
yourself, and you're like, no, no, stop it. And it has been those first 32 hours, and then when it got funded, I was like, oh damn, this is
yeah,
actually real.
yeah,
This is actually really real. And that's
yeah,
when the mindset then flipped a bit more, and
yeah,
it's been a bit easier. It's not even been a week yet, so it's
yeah,
127% funded now, I think.
yeah.
There's a few
That's
people that drop
incredible.
in and out.
Yeah,
People cancel their pledges for various reasons, but then people, once someone's cancelled, another one jumps right back in and it's back up again. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay, okay, it's fine.
absolutely. There's always going to be that little margin, right? Because for financial reasons or whatever else, people aren't always able to follow through. Um, But I'm so thrilled that it came about that way, especially as someone who can so relate with that anxiety and self-doubt and everything else. I mean, my inner mean girl, her daggers are very finely sharpened, and it can be very
Same.
daunting any time that I look to launch anything, especially when it's something so personal and it comes from you and it's something that you created, you know. It can be very intimidating. So I'm just so thrilled that everything came together in such a way to give you that boost and that bolster and that kind of affirmation. Like, it's wonderful if you can get that from within yourself, but when you're dealing with all of that fear and anxiety, it's really nice when you can get that external validation for your work and that support and that like big warm hug, you know, like. And I'm so
Yeah, yeah.
glad that you had all these cheerleaders that were able to support you, because I know if I were ever to do a Kickstarter, I'd be like, press the button and then go run and hide for like 48 hours, right? I can't even look at it now, like, yeah.
That was literally me, honestly. We have the same brain, I'm sure. We were like, I was like, I pressed it, and I was literally, hands were like
Yeah,
this, and I wanted to
yeah,
be sick. I was like, oh God, oh God.
yeah,
And that's just the severity of my anxiety. I was like, I can't breathe, I
yeah,
can't think. And
yeah,
then within 2 hours, it was just kept going up and up. I was like, right, don't look at it. But I kept getting reminded by other people. I was like, I'm not looking at it. And then, oh my God, you're this. No, stop telling me. I don't want to know. I just want to hide. I want to hide.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing, though. I'm so thrilled for you. That's
Thank
incredible.
you.
And it's going to be incredible to work with. I'm so looking forward to it. Um, so coming back, I just realized that I didn't ask you very much about your minors, and you'd mentioned that it's pip based. So what was that process like for you creating the minor arcana? Did you use any kind of visual reference? Did you go from your own intuitive understanding of the cards, or how did that work? Because I know it's not based traditionally around a Rider-Waite-Smith, so that gives you the freedom to be able to structure something. I mean, there's so many different tarot systems. There's Tarot de Marseille, there's the Thoth deck, there's, you know, lots of different reference points, and I'm
Yeah.
going on. So I pass it along to you. I'd love to know what this was. I'm like,
Oh, it came from, I think, when I looked at pictures from, say, the deck that I had, the Sacred Rose one, and then when I was trying to learn through, oh, it's gone out my head, Rider-Waite-Smith. My head's just like, so I was like, I'm looking at it at face value. I'm not fully taking it in. I want to be able just to pull it and not have a real big influence looking at the card, I suppose, because then I do like look at it, like I always refer back to the, like, you know, like Six of Cups, but like looking at it and you're like, oh yes, little boy, little girl, what's that mean? You know, like I don't want to get sucked into the scene too much. I want to make up my own mind, and then by having like quick fire sort of, like, I think I've used more, say, like keywords in my head to look at them and go, right, that means that, that means that. And I've used elephants because they're my favorite animal, and there's a mammoth in there because mammoths are my actual favorite animal, even though they're all dead.
Oh my God.
But
I adore elephants, actually. Elephants, otters, and sloths,
it was
which,
nearly otters, nearly otters.
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I
very,
love
very nearly.
them. I worked at a camp when I was in my early, like 14, 15, 16, and we had to pick animal names, and mine was Otter. And I think because I lost connection with my inner child so long ago, it's been like a way for me to kind of try and rehabilitate that aspect. And then elephants are just so grounded and majestic and have wonderful memories and like that whole thing. And then the sloth aspect came because the Science Center in Halifax, where we used to live, they had a live sloth come in as part of the science exhibit. And so we got to know Lilo. Like, we went so many times with our pass, and she was just so sweet and so gentle and so mindful and wasn't rushed. And her brain didn't look like it was going a billion miles a minute, you know, like, but
I
it's,
want to be you. I want to be the sloth.
I know, I know. And so I really kind of embraced that animal archetype now as something to kind of embrace for myself. And it's been so amazing. But I love, that's all to say, I love that you've included elephants and that you love mammoths. I actually have a little stuffed mammoth that lives on my bed that my kids got for me because there was an exhibit on prehistoric life and mammoths and things. And there was actually, they found some mummified remains of, I think it was called Lebo, this little baby mammoth that had drowned, like, of course, thousands of years ago.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah, but it was fully kind of
All the skin still on it, everything.
yeah,
His little
yeah,
trunk was still there and everything.
yeah, everything. And we went in and saw her, and I fell in love with that sweet little dead little mammoth. But it was a bit macabre, but also I don't know, it was pretty magical. And so I have this little mammoth that sits on my bed.
You're gonna have to show me that after. Send me a picture after, because I love
Yeah,
mammoths.
yeah.
I've got mammoth earrings and a little badge and everything, and
Oh my gosh.
I wish I could be a mammoth. You say it's funny because you mentioned about being Otter. Well, Hannah's nickname on my phone for her is Hannah Otter. It's just funny that you two are just so similar.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's why I was
Yeah,
going to do otters, because like they're just like they can really come together and they're just like emotionally supportive of each other. But the elephants just seemed a bit more graceful, majestic, more
yeah,
larger, and just and just the fact that they actually squirt water out. You know what I mean? They're just mint.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
love
That's
them.
incredible. Oh,
Mm.
that's amazing. Well, I'm really excited to see all of those in person. That's amazing. Um, so I have a question for you as someone who is not a deck creator. What was your process for figuring out what kind of paper you were going to use, what kind of finish you were going to use, how you were going to structure the box? Like I know you have a magnetic box set up, which is so exciting. I wish I loved tuck boxes, but I haven't really been able to create a good relationship with them because there's this part of my brain that's very perfectionist
Yes,
and
they fall apart.
not yeah, and I'm so worried that I'm going to mess up the box because I'm constantly needing to like open it and they don't all open properly. And there's some very nice tuck boxes out there, but I was so excited to see that it has a magnetic open because it feels like I
Cool.
can like maintain it. Yeah, exactly.
I'm messy. I'm really messy.
Yeah.
So I wanted something I could go clasp, close, and I'm in the middle of trying to sort out getting my wraps sorted out and everything too. So this is
Oh,
the first
nice.
time you have an
Oh
exclusive
my
look.
God.
But it's like,
Oh,
yeah, oh, it's all unwrapped and everything. But yeah, I made the design for it, and then it got stitched up and done. It's really cool, but I'll put that
yeah.
away. Shh. But yeah, um, I got some samples from my printer, and I was like,
Yeah.
give me everything you've got. I want to
Yeah.
see, feel, touch everything. And I think I went
Yeah.
through Danny's deck because I got Odin and Ascension. I got two Ascensions because I
Yeah.
won one in a competition, but that's by the by.
Nice.
I was flipping through them and I was like, these feel so good.
Yeah.
And then when I got the samples through, I was like, oh God, there's so many to choose from. And I was like, there's certain ones. Oh, thanks, JC. There's certain ones that were like gilded, and there was this and there was that. And I was like, just give me everything. I want to see it all. And I got to feel and open boxes and shuffle, and
Oh,
they gave me a
wonderful.
few of each. So
Yeah.
I've got a half assembled, disassembled tarot box and a few cards from the disassembled tarot and other decks that
Yeah.
have been made, like, and they're all pieced together in
Yeah.
this box of just these samples. But I wanted something that could shuffle nice, that would
Yeah.
last long, because I find
Yeah.
that some of them can get torn at the sides or flip up or bend and lose color.
Yeah.
I want the color to stay. So
Yeah.
I would say to anybody that's making a deck, get your samples, because they are like priceless. You can really get a feel for sizing, finish, and then also what's within your, not so much your budget, because I suppose Kickstarter helps that, but you don't want to be, I don't know, for someone who's a first timer, I hadn't a clue what was what paper
Yeah.
does this or what does that. So just ask for samples, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that you'll get a big box like I did, and a lovely letter written as well by this girl called Mary.
Oh,
She's been brilliant. We keep in contact, so get in good contact with your supplier, make friends with them. I speak to her daily. We're just having a chat. What you eating? Oh, I'm eating this. It's just
yeah.
nice just to build up a relationship and get everybody who's involved with your deck excited. So yeah,
Yeah.
samples, build a relationship with them, and then you'll get a better
Yeah.
result. I'm hoping I'll get a better result anyway, just by being
Yeah.
friends with her as well.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much to be said for setting up a personal relationship with the person that you're working with, even if it's the person who's, well, for all aspects of it, right? Like there's that personal connection that is so powerful, and
Yeah, yeah,
they're looking out for your duck and taking care of it along the way because there's this sense of stewardship with that too when you have a personal relationship with someone, like the decks that I have where I've set up, established a personal relationship with the person that created them are extra special to me because there's that
of
personal
course, yeah.
element and component, right? Like it's really beautiful. That's amazing. So then what did you end up with in the end? What was your final decision in terms of paper and finish and all of that? Or have you arrived on it yet?
I have actually got it on my Kickstarter, but it's a more thicker, it's a thicker
Okay.
card that's matte. It's not glossy or shiny.
Mhm.
It's just a lot thicker, and I suppose it feels quite chunky and not so slippy to begin with. But once you've shuffled it a few times, it does feel like
Amazing.
really nice to shuffle through, and it's quite a thick I think it's called art. I think it's art paper or something like that. It's
Yeah,
called.
art paper. I actually made some notes here.
I'm glad you
350
did.
GSM. 350 GSM, which is such a lovely weight, by the way. I love it. When I first started doing tarot, I'm like, 350, what are you talking about? And now that I've ordered enough decks, as you can see, there's a fair number.
Yeah, that's
I've gotten used
impressive.
to more of the weights and stuff, you know, and textures and things like where there's a rose petal finish. And so art paper is 350 GSM, and then a matte UV varnish on both sides, which is incredible. That's awesome. Yeah.
Have you got tarot disassembled?
I don't, but that's on my list.
That is basically, I loved when I got the samples. They sent, because she used the same company, and they sent through their sample of that one. I went, oh my god, yes, that's what it feels. So
Yeah.
soft. It's all
Yeah.
matte, because also I know we all like to take photographs for the gram, so they're not shiny or anything. So
Yeah.
it's just, they just feel like they will last longer, but they are coated,
Yeah.
so there's no like wear or tear on them. They will just last.
Yeah.
I want them to last. I want them to look and feel like how mine does from the 80s, and still
Yeah.
just as vibrant. I want them to last a
Yeah.
lifetime and be passed down or found in a tip somewhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh, I
In
love that so
landfill. Oh, it's still there. Wicked. It's managed to survive landfill. Cool. It's the end of the
I,
world, but
I,
my deck survives.
yes, exactly. It's managed to go the distance, you know,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And I love that you've put so much intention into every aspect of it, and like even all the detail that you included, because I was looking at the Kickstarter ahead of time because I was trying to prepare for a chat and figure out different logistics and things. And the magnetic box and the weight to it, and I noticed that you have matte lamination on one side with a spot UV finish, which is so beautiful and so exciting. And like every aspect of this has been given so much care, and it makes it so exciting to work with the final product because yeah, I'm just very, very excited.
That's really good to know. I'm glad you're excited. I'm nervous. Give me some of that excitement. At the moment, I'm balancing on, yeah, I'm excited, but it's nervous.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's very, oh, I'm happy at the same
Yeah, well, I
time.
think anytime you're birthing anything into the world, there's that sense of anticipation and nerves, and until it's actually there, there's that sense of, yeah, anxiety around it, right? Because it's like until it's actually physically done, I'm the kind of person that until it's out there, it's not real. Do you know what I mean? Like it's real,
Yeah, I
but it's
can't
not.
rest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
won't
I
rest
hear you.
until September. I'm fully aware I'm going to
Yeah,
be anxious every day until until those decks land on my doorstep. Like, aha, they're here. And then I'll just watch all of the adrenaline pour out of me, like,
yeah,
and I need to lie down for the next 10 years. Never again.
yeah. No kidding. Oh, that's gonna
I
be so
joke, of
exciting.
course.
Can you imagine when it finally arrives on your doorstep? That's gonna be so
I might
surreal and
cry.
wonderful.
I might
Yeah,
cry. When I finished my last card, I actually had to document it. I was like, I need to document this moment. I feel that overwhelmed. I was bawling my eyes out, and I was like,
yeah,
the last card's done. Oh, and I get really emotional. So I will end up crying, and I'll make sure someone's
yeah.
recording me opening up the box as well, so I can show everybody like,
Oh,
this is my
incredible. That is
deck.
absolutely incredible. And so lovely to have someone there to support you through that and to share that experience with you as well, which is, you know, recording it for posterity's sake, but also giving you that backup, which is incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. I have a master's degree in theater history. I was looking at a salonier in Paris in the from the 19 teens all the way up to the 1930s, and she had this incredible performance space and brought in a whole variety of different people, and it was really incredible. It was on the left bank of Paris. And I had been working on my master's. I was pregnant with my first daughter. I defended my thesis when I was 6 months pregnant, so of course, emotional pregnant lady. But we had gone on a trip to Europe when I was about 4 months pregnant with her. And I was trying to finish the thesis. And I knew that if I didn't get it done by the time she arrived, it just wasn't going to happen. And
Yeah.
I'd been working on it for 2 years at that point, and I couldn't see the forest for the trees. And I was so frustrated. And finally, we were in this small town outside of Rome, and I finally finished it. And the feeling of euphoria when I pressed the send button, I didn't think I was going to get to that point. You know, when you're going through the slog of like getting all this stuff done,
Yeah.
it's like I can't even, I've poured so much of my heart and soul into this, but is it ever going to get to the other side, right? But
Yeah.
that feeling is so powerful, and I'm so grateful that my husband was there with me. because it just kind of, that support was much needed, right? Like it's, yeah,
Absolutely. It
yeah,
kind of also, I don't know about you, but with my overthinking, I worry
yes,
about, well, my favorite saying is I worry, but I
yeah,
worry that like I'm being silly about my thought process. So having someone to go, I totally get what you're feeling and it's completely
yeah,
justified, but it's not like that at all, I promise you. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
you're seeing it from your anxious mind. So
yeah,
another thing I would say to anyone creating a deck or thinking about doing that is prepare yourself, but also surround yourself, because without that, it can easily, you can easily turn a project that was going so well and put it in the bin. And don't, because mine, multiple times I was like, that's it, can't do it,
yeah,
can't do it. And then
yeah,
if it wasn't for the support I had, I don't think I would have finished it like this quickly
mhm,
anyway. I don't think I would have had it in me. You do need people to be
yeah,
able to show you your worth and remind you of your worth as well, especially if you struggle with that.
absolutely,
If you
yeah,
do, get
yeah,
the support. If you're strong-minded and if you're that kind of person, it's like, no, I can do it anyway.
yeah,
Where's all my Capricorns at? You guys just know what you're doing. I want to
yeah,
be like you, but
yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
I'm a
No,
triple air sign.
my partner, he's Gemini Sun, Cancer rising, and Pisces moon. But
Wow.
I was so shocked when I saw that because I was sure there was going to be some Capricorn or Virgo in there because he's the most steady, stable, like even keel person I've ever met. And like a week before I finished it, we were in Dublin and I was in this hotel room and I was trying to edit and I couldn't see the forest for the trees and my anxiety
Yeah.
monkey brain was just going nuts. I almost literally threw my laptop across the room. Like, I'm not even joking. I was so frustrated because this was like almost 2 years of work and I'm like, this is a piece of crap. It's no good. I
Yeah.
can't believe
Yeah.
this. Like, and he just kind of gently came over, took the laptop out of my hands and said, "Can you please go for a walk now?"
You need to
And I
calm
came
down.
back in like an hour and he had rearranged a few things and it all worked. Like it was all there.
Oh.
But because I was so focused on it and overthinking it and all of that,
Mhm.
so yes, 100%, like having that stable influence there, that person who can bolster you and tell you that your feelings are valid and it's okay, and yet it's not as dire as you think. That is such a gift. And like, yeah, anyone who's doing any kind of creative project or endeavor, definitely find that person who can step in and create that space for you and support you through it. Because if you deal with anxiety on any level, which I have now, I recognize since I was a child,
Hmm.
it's really hard to differentiate between what is my anxious brain saying versus what is my reality of the situation here, right? It's very hard to
Yes.
differentiate between those two.
Yeah. Because when you're in
Yeah,
that state, that is your reality and that is what's happening, whether you like
yeah,
it or not, and whether it's real or not. It
absolutely.
is real to you at the time, and that's it. It's layers,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
you're underneath all those layers, and you're like, ah. So does someone just go in, ooh, and you go, oh, I can breathe again now. That's fine. Yes. Anyway, sorry about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. We just hit 20 years together in December actually,
Oh,
and
congratulations. That's a hell of a milestone.
15 years married and 20 years together. And it's I don't know, like I mean, I'm responsible for my own emotions and I'm responsible for my own state, but being with someone who is that stable and grounded has been a lifesaver for me, especially because my family of origin was always very chaotic and very kind of volatile. And
Yeah, I'm
so
aware of that.
finding,
Yeah, bloody
yeah,
hell.
finding that kind of sense of stability is especially important, right? And really, really helpful. And yeah,
That
makes
must
a
have been
difference.
incredible for you, like, because I know your background and everything, but like, just to be able to have that person to remove that laptop when, if that would have been someone else from your past, that
Yeah,
wouldn't have happened, and it would have
no,
been a hell of a lot worse. So that's
yeah,
incredible. Like, I just love that. You know, anything, anything we choose to do, as long as we surround ourselves with the right people, we can do anything. We
hmm,
literally can do anything, and
hmm,
that's the beauty of creating the deck too, is that when I feel like I couldn't, and had I
yeah,
have me 5 years ago, I was suffering
hmm,
heavily in bulimia and I was so poorly, and I turned to art as a way of getting past that and growing through it and everything. And I was creating this deck coming out the other side of it. I couldn't
yeah,
have been that person had I not been with Hannah, I don't think, and had the
yeah,
support from my family and
yeah,
everything, and like friends and stuff. So it is just, it's allowing, like you say, again with the deck being
hmm,
vulnerable, it's allowing the vulnerability, and then choosing your crowd wisely as well, I think, and then you can do anything. You can achieve so much as long as you've got the right people guiding you and lifting you up in
Absolutely.
the right way.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's hugely important through that whole process. And I'm
Mm.
so thrilled for you that you've had this community and this support because it makes all the difference, and that's incredible. Oh, it's
Yeah,
wonderful.
it really is. I feel all emotional now. I don't know what to do with myself.
No, it's lovely to be able to have these conversations, and have within this space in the tarot community. I feel like because so many people are coming to this practice as a way of working through and unpacking their experience and kind of using this archetype. There's so many different versions of tarot to reference, but finding something that works within which you can unpack your experience, present, past, and future. Um,
Mhm.
it's such a helpful tool, but I feel like there is this openness to kind of engage with that process because so many, I wouldn't say everyone, but so many people are coming to it for that reason, right? So it can
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
very supportive space in that capacity. Yeah.
The good thing is about making the deck too is that there's so many people that don't know the tarot who are now coming to the tarot because they
Yes,
know what I'm doing. I'm
absolutely.
like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have friends that before I really came out of the tarot closet and started being more open and upfront about this, because it's been part of my life for a really long time, but I wasn't so overt about it. I had an aunt that told me it was a devil's work and didn't even want to hear the word tarot and all that. Like she was really the exception. Most people were kind of tolerant, but I still kept it under wraps for a really long time. And, being able to come into a state where I can be more open about it is really great because it is such a helpful tool and it's such a great
Mhm.
archetypal structure. And it's so interesting too. This is a bit of a segue, but looking at what tarot is for you versus what stereotypes are about what tarot is, and being able to unpack some of that and see it as, for me, is a very useful tool to be able to work through and unpack things. And that's pretty magical, right? I mean, I think we're all
Definitely.
just kind of looking to make sense of our lives in whatever way we can. And so to have a tool that is so readily available is really quite a gift.
Hmm. Definitely. I think if it weren't for tarot, I don't think I would have found out half as much about myself,
Yeah.
and then making it. And then I noticed on my posts, I was just putting a picture up and going, this is my card. It means this. And I was like, no, people are actually writing about it and how it affects them or what their day is like. Oh, this is really cool. This is such a good way to practice it as well. Is to
Mhm.
so yeah, it definitely is like the best tool I've used to navigate my life. And
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful thing. And so to not make the deck just doesn't make sense to me now. Like I had to make
Mhm.
it, and just being without it now is it's mad. And the fact that it's now funded, that's even more mad. So
It's
yeah, it blows my
fabulous.
head.
I'm so glad you did. And that's so wonderful. It's going to be such a great tool for people to use, which is incredible. So the campaign, now to get back to the technical specs, the campaign ends March 24th, right? So everyone
Yeah.
has lots of time still to go and back. Um, and Instagram at Divine Arts Tarot. Is there anywhere else that you would like to direct people to follow your work or to get in touch with you, or is that the best kind of approach?
That's the best way, I think. I was
Yeah.
going to have maybe a Facebook or some description. I was like, oh no, 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 we're not doing that. We just stick to just at the Divine Arts Tarot is where people can find me on Instagram. Um, Other than that, if you want to look at my tattoos, message me. Just go. You'll find it somewhere, but it's not relevant. But yeah, at the Divine Arts Tarot is the best place to catch me. I have put my email in there as well, just in case people
Mhm.
want a more professional approach. I know there's been a few
Yeah.
people. Oh, I'll mention this too. I will be doing
Mhm.
wholesale, but I
Mhm.
want to wait until after the campaign has finished. I need to make this
Yeah.
as a post. I completely forget to do this every time, every day, but it will be available to people once I've got my own decks, and then I can
Yep.
work out the postage better and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it's easier for me just to do it that way rather than throwing them out there and then
Mhm.
things going wrong.
Yep.
So it's just easier for me. So if anyone is watching who is interested in the wholesale side of things, yes, I will do an
Yeah.
update for everybody, and it will be available when I've got my cards. When I've got my surplus decks, they'll
Mhm.
be going on my Etsy store as well, so people can purchase them after as well. So that'll be really cool. I'm only buying about 500 initially. I'll see how things go, but there's only 500 getting printed, and
Yeah.
then they'll get sent off for all the people that pledged, and then it'll be in my Etsy after. So yeah, my Etsy, I suppose that's another way to reach me, but
Yeah,
I can't tell you
yeah,
the name of that right now. But I'll definitely put that in my Kickstarter as well. You're making me think
yeah.
about things that I should have bloody done.
No, that sounds great. And I'm happy to share the Etsy information like after we chat and stuff. I can get that from you and then I'll include it in the little blurb underneath our live so people can
Perfect, yeah.
access that and follow you there as well. So that's
Awesome. And then
wonderful.
show me your mammoth as well. I want to see your mammoth.
Oh my goodness, yes, I will send you a picture. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go grab my mammoth. Just one sec.
Yes.
I gotta show you.
Just making Jules get up and show and tell. It's what I do. Make people get up,
Sitting
catch
on
their
the bed and
kids,
he's like,
show
what
your
is going
mammoths.
on? What are you doing? Yeah, so this is
Oh wow, look at that. That's it. Oh my gosh, he's very long.
yes, he's very long. He's not quite as stout and majestic as your average mammoth. He's more long and limber, but yeah, he's lovely. I just love his little face.
Yeah, he's got great eyes. They're definitely like,
Yeah. And then
why
my
am I
daughter
dead?
has one too. It's a little hedgehog, and
Oh, that's so
I
cute.
actually have a little otter as well, which is up on the shelf right about there.
I can see
And
your
then
Otter. Yeah, yeah.
my daughter gave it to me. These are all from a company called Jellycat, which is just lovely. But my daughter's cat, Cassiopeia, we got her as a little black kitten a year ago last December. She was 1.25 pounds when we brought her back from the shelter because she'd been quite sick, and they took wonderful care of her. It was lovely. But she covets my little otter, so I have to keep the otter up on the shelf because otherwise she comes and steals my otter and grooms it and carries it around the house. And part of me feels like I should just give her my otter because she's obviously very attached and considers it to be a kitten, but it's my otter and I
It's
can't
your Otter. No, no. Boundaries, Jules, boundaries. We will not back down to these feline creatures. I'm not having it.
Oh my goodness. Well, we yeah, it's been so lovely having a kitty in the house again. Like we've had Pippin now for 4 years and he's so lovely. He's my little familiar and he follows me around everywhere and we're very codependently attached. He's great when I get anxiety in the middle of the night, but that's so funny. She's like the cattiest cat I've ever had. We've always had cats, but she's like, she knows her worth, she knows her boundaries, and she's like right in there, and it's hilarious. Like, it's such a different vibe, right? But like, so I've got to protect the otter from the cat. Well, not really, because she really like. I think she thinks it's her baby. Like she carries it around the house, and she
Oh,
and takes care of it, and like.
I've
It's
never
really
seen a cat drag any cuddly toy around. I've seen dogs do, but not a cat. It's like, yes, my child. Like by the
oh
scruff of its neck, like carrying it
yeah.
around.
She totally does. She's also obsessed with stationery, so I have to like keep my pens under wraps because she steals them and takes them to her little stashes around the house. And so I'm constantly losing pens and having to check.
That is the weirdest thing ever. That is not a cat. I don't care what you're saying. That's a human in a fur suit is what you've got there.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's so
Clever little
funny.
things, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, they really are. Well, thank you so much for joining me and for having this chat. It's been such a pleasure and so lovely to put a face to written communication. Like we've been chatting back and
Yes.
forth. It's so lovely. I mean, I keep thinking about the flu pandemic in 1918 and how difficult that must have been for everyone because you didn't have modern technology where you can see people's faces and talk in real
No.
time. And, you know, there's so much information out there. And in some cases, it can feel like too much, but at least there's access to it. Do you know what I mean? And a way to connect and communicate.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really quite amazing. I'm here in Nova Scotia, you're in the UK, and yet we're able to have this chat. Like
It's
you'd
mad,
think
isn't
I'd
it?
be used to
I
that
love it.
now, but it kind of blows my mind a little bit. Like it's really quite magical. Yeah.
It really is. No, but thank you for having me as well, and just offering me to come on here and talk to you. It's been so lovely to actually speak to you, like you say, rather than just going blah, 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 like trying to miss each other between our strange time zones. Like, oh,
Yeah.
let's do tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, it's been absolutely lovely, and it is like just being online and making new friends has been probably one of the best things about this whole thing. Not even the deck; it's making the friends. So yeah,
Oh,
I'm
cute.
just really grateful for you having me and
Oh,
just having a really nice chat and showing me your
yeah.
mammoth. Yes! The lankiest
On my
mammoth there ever was.
coffee of the day, it shows. Wonderful. Well, take care. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, and I will be in touch. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jules. Take care. See ya.
Take care.
Bye.